Hail DC, welcome back. I want to say hi to all the DC and our guests that are out there in our stream network. This is Hardware, aka Hardware DC with the Durmanhoth Clan News Network. And today we're going to be looking at the new patch that's coming out probably in the next couple days, which is patch 3.13 for Star Citizen. That patch has a lot of interesting content that's going to be out for the coming weekend, as well as a good push towards what's coming out in the next quarter. So let's begin. First thing I'm going to show you guys is a little video snippet of the cave systems. Now, those of you that have been playing within the last year or so, we have caves, we have minables inside the caves, we have explorations. But it was pretty much static as far as you go into one cave, you walk around, there's not a whole lot of room. Now we have two variations on that theme. Those variations are, one is a giant sinkhole, which is shown here, where this is from the bottom looking up, and they are so big that you can actually get a ship inside some of these sinkholes. And then you can lower your ship down inside the hole, drop off a rock, or later on, I don't believe you can currently, but later on you'll be able to take a prospector down and harvest off the roof of the caves, as well as the new Gray Cat Rock DS, which is the new rock that has the 6 wheels, and the mining laser, which is a large bucket seat, kind of like a almost like a ComEd truck hanging off the side of the vehicle, and you can raise yourself up and mine with that. We'll get into the Rock DS a little bit later. The other cave entrances are now going to be just bigger, as you can see in this video, that you will be able to drive vehicles into. I'm guessing that the Rock DS is going to be able to go into almost all of them at this point, since they've upped the size of that vehicle from a normal Rock. But before, it was scaled to be more or less kind of at least that the Ursa rover could get into. They're big. That's all I can say, is they're going to be big. And they will have new missions inside these caves. You can do assassination missions that will bring up people to go hunt for, not just a dead body that at least I can never find. And some of these assassination missions, you go down, you whack the guy, you come out. These missions can be reached through the bounty hunter progression, for depending on what system you're in. More on that a little bit later as well. But this is a dramatic jump, and as you can see from some of this video as well, that the Rock is slowly but surely being transformed from the way that it used to look into the current tech rendering that they're doing now for rocks and planetary surfaces, the biomes, stuff like that. So it's starting to look really nice. I am eagerly anticipating doing some cave spelunking. I think that's still a word. And to go through these caves and to find whatever might be in there, whether you're going to take a portable mining, or you do it by hand, or if you go down there in a ship, or like I said, you can go down there in a vehicle. It's going to be something new for us all to take a look at. On our next stop for patch 13, we have ship naming. Now, let me read off the ships so I don't completely forget. Now, right now, there's only a handful of ships, 6 to be exact, that you can actually name. And they came out in waves, which is already gone. So, by now, you should be able to name whatever you want to name. The ships that you can name now are the 890 Jump, the 600I, the Hammerhead, the Reclaimer, the Mercury Star Runner, and the Carrack. Now, these six ships, if you go under the website, that's the only way you can do it right now. Go on to the website. I think I have that up somewhere, actually. See if I can pull it up real quick and show you. If you come up into your hangar, let me see if I can find. If this takes too long, I'm not going to bother. But you can come in here and look for your ship. Here's the Mercury Star Runner. And it is not letting me name my Mercury Star Runner. Touche on you, Star Citizen, touche. I just got through naming. Okay, here it is. I'm sorry, that must have been the scan. I wasn't paying attention. So if you look here, rename ships. When you name the ship, it'll come up. I thought I had named this one. Maybe I have not. Contains one nameable ship. It looks like I didn't name this one. So let's... Mercury Star Runner. Oh, I did. You can see here DC Falcon. Now, the interesting way around some of the naming issues, and hopefully, at least for my guys, this is obviously mainly for our guild, but for our organization, but it is also for information for anybody else out there that's interested. I'll show you the names here on the ships. You can see here Shooting Star on the side of the 600i. You can only have one name per structure of the ship, and I guess by that I mean if I have a 600i and it's named Shooting Star, there will not be another ship named the Shooting Star. That's a Mercury or a 600i. There can be a 600 there can be a Mercury Star Runner named Shooting Star. You can have a Grey Cat Rock named Shooting Star, for that matter. You can use that name for all the different ship types out there. But for one specific ship, the 600i, there can only be one Shooting Star name. Now, how do we get around that? You can put a moniker in front of it, kind of like what a lot of militaries do. The military for the game, the UEE. You can put UEE dash and a name. For this ship, because someone else took Falcon, go figure, for the Mercury Star Runner, I put DC hyphen Falcon. So now there's one Falcon in the game, but there is now a DC Falcon. But it will be for all of the ships coming up. It's just not fully released yet. They are releasing aspects of the game in small steps, but it's not going to be all of it all at once. Now we're going to jump down into ship-to-ship docking. If you have ever owned a Constellation, or still do for that matter, this is something that everybody's been waiting for. And this iteration will not only allow the Constellation to finally work as intended, but it's the first iteration of what probably will come for other ship symbiote behavior when you have ships that can dock specifically on another ship. And as you'll be able to see here, this is a Constellation with a Merlin flying up behind it. This is now set up where it is kind of like a reticle HUD that you square off the box as your Merlin comes in. If you hit that box correctly, you're going to be able to auto dock. And you can see the Merlin coming up from behind. No puns intended. And then he'll pop up inside the back end of the Constellation, dock. You can jump out, jump back in. Now, two things to note about being able to dock with the Constellation. And I only say Constellation right now. That's the only one that can do it. is I can dock at any given time with my own ship. Ships all have serial numbers. I don't know how it's exactly done with the Constellation and the Merlin, but the ship knows that it's its symbiote ship. So you can dock with your ship at any time. You leave with the Merlin, you can come back and forth. There's not an issue. Now let's say I have my Constellation out, and the Merlin blew up, and one of our guys, Kelzine, let's say, he wants to jump in his Merlin and dock with my Constellation so we can continue exploring or whatever we're doing. Now, Kelzine can fly his Merlin up to the back end of my Constellation. He will not be able to dock. You have to call the ship, like you would do with the space stations, like you would do with the landing platforms, request permission. The owner of the Constellation, me at this, for the sake of for the story, I would accept his being able to land on my ship, and then now Kelzine will be able to dock his Merlin with my ship. Now, what's the long-term ramifications with that? As far as, is that an open invitation? If he undocks, is it gone? What happens if I leave the game and secure my Constellation? What happens to his ship? That I don't all know about yet. I'm not even sure if they do. Docking is still a little janky, but the mechanics are there and it's working very well. But that's what the intention is that yes, other players can dock similar ships with the Constellation as well as your own. So that's nice. The next one that we have coming up is the reputation system. Now here you'll be able to see in a second, I think this is maybe number 3 on the leaps forward for this game becoming a game. Now, I say that because most people like to be able to track, see their progression. Just like if you're getting experience fighting, you want to see your experience bar get bigger, 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 and then boom, you're on to the next level. There is not that in Star Citizen as of today, patch 312. 313 does. Now, what you'll see here in the reputation system, as this comes up, is that you activate it through your mobiGlas, and as you're going through, you'll be able to see all the different networks, all the different organizations, crime syndicates, stuff like that. And you'll be able to track your specific progression with any one particular group. Now, the beauty behind that is obviously as you become bigger in the organization, you are able to get more money, get more benefits. I'm hoping down the line that there'll be salvage opportunities automatically. I mean, you can obviously, if you have a hunter kill mission and you go blow a ship up, you can call a reclaimer or a vulture or something to come over and hack away at it. But it would be nice that if it gives you a hunter kill mission and you go waste some ships, that it calculates whatever regular salvage it might be and give you that automatically as a bank. Now, that's not coming. That's not even talked about it. I'm saying that's what I would hope for. But as it is, your money, if you're making 10,000 per bounty kill, and in my progression with the Bounty Hunter Guild in that specific area becomes better and better and better, that 10,000 can become 15,000, can become 25,000 plus bonus. It can go up. And then as you accelerate through that rank, you can top out, and then you go to start doing something else. I'm going to start doing cargo running. I'm going to start doing other game loops that will bring up my reputation. The one thing to note is that your reputation, like real life, will diminish. If you go to the range every day and you shoot and shoot and shoot, and months and months and months go by, at the end of that, you're a pretty damn good marksman. You're going to be hitting the 10 ring, at least the black, and you're going to be a hell of a lot more accurate. Now, shooting is one of those deteriorating skills that if you do not do it often and you don't do it enough and you wait a few years and go back, you're not going to be hitting the 10 ring. You're not going to be hitting the black. You'll be decent, like riding a bike. It's not like you're going to forget how to do it, but it's going to deteriorate, and that's going to be the same thing with the reputation system. is that you can go all the way to, let's just say that it's a 1 out of 100, and you make it all the way to 100 and then decide that you want to stop bounty hunting in the Hurston area, then your Hurston reputation for bounty hunting will slowly tick away. It's not going to take hours or days or maybe even weeks, but through the longevity of the game, it can deteriorate at whatever rate will be set. So that's something to understand and know going down the line. But for me, to be able to track your progression, where you're at, and to see that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I want to make millions of dollars hunting people, and I cannot do that at $2 to $5 grand a kill. Now you can see, well, if you want the next stage to make more money, you can track how that goes. And parallel to that, it's not just a matter of progression for money, it's a progression for the organizational and its benefits. You might be able to land in specific landing pads. You'll be able to talk with bigger parties of whatever organization you're doing, whether it's bad or good. And as you gain rank through that system, it'll open up new doors. Some, they say even quite literally, that you'll be able to go to that you otherwise would not be able to as a static player with little to no experience in that game organization that you're looking at. So the reputation system, like I said, in my opinion, besides iCache and server meshing, the reputation system is a giant leap forward in progression, and it's something that now gives you a reason to log into the game because it's tracking how you're doing, how well you're doing, and where you're going. Now, inversely to this, I will say before we switch on to our next topic, is that if you start taking missions and you suck, you've taken 5 or 6 missions, you've been doing great as a bounty hunter, and you get to the next tier, and it wants you to take out a ship that you're not able to handle, the mission giver might stop giving you missions for a period of time. It may stop giving you missions at all for a long period of time. You might start getting taxed for your failing efforts. Either way, there are pros and cons to winning and losing. And so sometimes I think real life gets to be too real, especially for a game. But I think in this instance, this is a very cool idea and definitely adds a little bit of risk for reward for doing these missions. And now at least you can improve your character along the lines of doing them. Our next system to take a look at, this is one of those systems that it's like, why? But it's needed. It will probably be a big change in the long term, a small change in the short term, but it's not just this topic specifically of what you'll see here in a second with the trolley. It's the ability to push and pull objects, period. Where you want to push something over, pull it into your ship, pull it into a doorway. It's the mechanic specifically that is in the game, and they can open up into broader spectrums of use. This is obviously called push and pull. In 3.13, there will be these trolleys. Now, what are these trolleys going to be specifically used for? If you do some cargo runs, single cargo, you can put them on there and run them a little bit quicker than carrying a box at like -1 mile an hour. And as you can see, people are using them for combat as a joke. But the purpose of the trolley long term is your ship is eventually supposed to be completely component made. And so your ship engines can come out. Your shield generators can come out. Your weapons, obviously, can come out. And instead of, realistically speaking, you are going to be unable to carry a ship shield generator necessarily by yourself or for any great length of time, you'll be able to put it on a trolley and move it from pickup to your ship, up and down elevators, going and picking up cargo. There's the one mission where you go to the Starfarer. I think it was a Starfarer that crash landed, and you have to go pick up articles out of the Starfarer. Now you can bring a trolley out, throw the stuff onto the trolley, 4, 3, 4, 5 different items, move it all into your ship, and you can collect everything all at one time. Is it a life-changing function overall? Overall, yes, I think it will be a pretty big life-changing mechanic. Short term and in reality for right now, it's cute, funny, and you can do some interesting things with it. But it's here, it's coming out with this patch, and it'll be interesting. One of the reasons why, as a side note, that this patch has taken so long to pop in is that when you do the Evocati, they're not generally trying to grief each other. They're just testing the mechanics. As soon as this, as soon as this went to Wave 1, which you have the Evocati, which are their special play testers. Then you have Wave 1, which are all your concierge. And then Wave 2 is Open PTU, Player Testing Universe. So everybody that wants to download the PTU can. And then obviously you're live. But as soon as Wave 1 and Wave 2 hit, you have players screwing with each other, for lack of a better term, and they are now sticking these trolleys, and they were called trolleys of death because you were sticking them under a ship, which causes the ship to start to vibrate and cavitate and explode, killing players. And so that was a mechanic that they could not release with, obviously, or you're going to be walking around Port Alistar and Hurston and everywhere else, and people are going to be chucking trolleys underneath your ship, killing you. So that had to be meted out so that wouldn't cause those type of an issue. But it's an interesting mechanic that I'm glad is coming. The next mechanic, and something that is going to be a big one, especially for people like me that want to build cities, bases, stuff like that, is the mounted guns. Now, we have mounted guns on vehicles. We have this type of weapon like the Scorpion off of the Valkyrie on the side doors. But these guns will be used for perimeter defense, NPC-wise, if you're attacking, or on your own base eventually. And it is a nice addition to have instead of everything being automated, that you can pop onto one of these miniguns and start throwing lead down at your target and laying waste to them. What I'm hoping for, and we'll get to a little bit later here too, is that gameplay for the tank, for the Cyclones, for the Rangers for that matter. The Nox has guns. The Dragonfly has guns. But there's a reason kind of now for these vehicles to have weapons, because we will now have land-based targets to take out. And that is going to be the start of a very good new gameplay. This is called Star Citizen. I understand that completely. But it's not just Star Trek where you're up in the stars almost 98% of the time, and the occasional landing and dealing with things on other planets. At least for me, this is going to be almost a 50-50 split. And it's really nice to see that they are rolling out ground gameplay that people can enjoy when they're building their cities, when they're sieging cities, when they're doing whatever they want to do on the ground. That's the Valkyrie gun. They're looking to do more, obviously. I'm sure they'll have mounted anti-aircraft. They'll have mounted lasers. They'll mount just about everything that you can possibly mount. But it's going to be a nice addition to the gameplay features. And they look pretty lethal. I have not bothered to go into the PTU yet. Some of the patch issues I just didn't want to be bothered with. I wanted to see the live. Of course, there'll be problems in live. There always is. But it's online gaming for you. But this patch now that's going to be coming out in a day or two is stable. So these will be nice. And I'm looking forward to using them. Now, one thing I don't have specifically, because they don't necessarily have it out yet, is there is the start of the Stanton redoing the rocks, as we discussed in the caves, redoing the trees, the foliage, the ground where the water comes up and hits on the shores, the water itself. All of these have a new graphic shader, whatever you want to call it specifically. And they have been slowly putting it on the planets and moons in Stanton for the beginning of this patch, which was 3.12. They're doing it again in 3.13, and I'm assuming anything that they don't complete, they will finish up by the next series of patches. But it's geared towards making the ground look more lifelike, the foliage to look more lifelike, the water to look more lifelike. And when they do that, it's already a beautiful game as it is. But when they do that, the game is going to be amazing. And it's going to be amazing everywhere. Now, Pyro, which is coming hopefully by the end of the year, start of next year, is started with the new look and mechanics. So when you eventually get to go to Pyro, that new crisp look will be throughout. But for now, they're redoing Stanton because that's where we're at, and so that's what they have coming down for everybody. The other nice thing about it is that there will be new updated asteroids. I don't remember what they said specifically as far as the asteroids were concerned, but let's just say there's 5 different asteroids, and they look very, very boulder-like, very plain, game-like, cartoon-like almost. Now the asteroids will almost like come to life, and there'll be hundreds of different types and sizes, and they will look, even though an asteroid isn't necessarily organic, it will look real instead of just a rock floating in space. And so there are these graphic improvements, the UI improvements that are coming for this patch and the following patches as well, is going to make the game look ridiculously awesome if it doesn't already. The other thing that they're putting in is, I guess there was a secret tree on New Babbage Microtech that you could actually go pick. I don't remember what the fruit was called, but it's like an apple, that you could actually go pick it and eat it. It was kind of the first iteration of harvesting something food-wise to eat. They're going to be doing that again. There's going to be harvestable algae on the coastlines, and they're going to be doing more and more harvestable items that you can eat, coming to the culmination of being able to take these harvested items and storing them on your ship and being able to use them in your cafeterias and in your kitchen and in your stateroom, and storing food in that manner. So that's going to be exceptionally nice to finally have going. One of the other big things coming up is what they call the SDF shields. Now, the SDF shields, the way the shields were run before, it was almost like you have a ship and you got a giant bubble around the ship. If you can picture the ship kind of like in a balloon. Now, the SDF shields, the ship itself just looks fatter when you put the shields on it. So instead of it being a giant balloon with a ship inside, it's going to be compressed, and in every piece of the ship, it's going to surround. The interesting part of that is if I have a wing, let's say, I have a 325, Origin 325A, and I get my wing shot off, the shields come out and around the wings and around every external part of your ship. If this wing gets blown off, the new shield tech goes straight down the hull of the ship. And now that you don't have a wing, that part of the shield just reincorporates itself into what's left of the ship. It's not a permanently torn hole, because your shield generator would still be pumping a shield out until it's destroyed. It will cover that hole, it will seal itself up, and now it will conform to the hull of the ship where the wing was, which is pretty fascinating. As you'll be able to see here with the SDF shield system, the other part of the body-hugging shields is they will be colored. Now, I'm not 100% fan of this. I would be as a computer game, but as a online game, you can see where it's hitting on that ship. The blue is your initial impacts on the shields. The colors change, and I don't remember how many colors they said they were eventually going to go with, but the colors will change with how weak that area of the shield is coming. Now, if you're shooting at a ship, non-stop, continuous, fire, 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 you know where the weakness is because you've been shooting there. What I don't necessarily like, though I guess I understand, is that if I'm shooting at a ship and somebody else can now visually see flying around that ship where that shield is getting weak and start helping out in that specific area. Now, that's a good idea to do for the two people shooting the ship. It's not too good for the victim. And to visually be able to see somebody attack a specific part of the ship that they otherwise wouldn't have been able to visually see immediately, you might have to scan it, shoot it yourself. There's methods that you can do electronically in the game to do that. But instead, you can visually see it. It'll allow people to attack from afar, close in from afar easier. I don't know. To me, it seems like it might be helping too much. But either way, that's the way it is for right now. It's coming, and it's an interesting aspect of their new shield technology. One of the other things that is coming up here, I don't have a video specifically of it, I'll just let this go. But they have new mining components. These new mining components can be usually bought on the refinery decks. And what do those do? It's kind of like you get a positive here and a negative here. You get a positive on beam length, but a negative on power. You get a positive on power boost, but you got to be closer to it in order to be able to be effective with it. And those are the components that they're looking to change, at least for right now, the mining aspect of the game. A side note to that is there are new game loops coming in the next patch or two that specifically deal with salvage and medical gameplay. So they are trying to put the first versions of all of the game loops into the game and work from there. The first iteration of salvage will be a hand salvage tool, and then obviously it will work its way up from there. Medical gameplay wise, the same. There will be a specific medical gun. There's a multi-tool that you'll be able to use as well. But let's say, just for numbers' sake, the multi-tool can heal you 10 hit points or fix the hole in your leg that you got shot in. The medical one will be able to heal you 20 hit points or completely heal your leg and give you pain medication so you can move on with no discomfort. So it's going to be upping the gameplay specifically for those that either buy into or train themselves up in the medical field. So that's the cool aspect of the new game loops that are coming. But for mining that is currently in game and has been for quite a long time, they're adding to it with the rock DS. You have your prospector, you have your Argo mole. Now you have your handheld tool that can cut and mine smaller items. The mining gameplay is obviously the first to be flushed out and is looking fantastic. Ship. Visual degradation. Now, I don't have the video queued for that. It was tough to find one that was accurate enough. But the visual degradation that they have coming, I'm a fan. I'm not a fan personally, but it's kind of neat. If you never have to go fix your ship and you do everything at home, so to speak, and you fix your own hull and you use a Vulcan and resupply and do all this, and you don't go to a starport or a space station at all, your ship will look worn. If you bounce off an asteroid, you might have striations or tears in the hull. If you have been on a sand planet, your ship will start to become quite dirty and sandblasted. If you are on New Babbage, you'll have snow and the effects of snow on metal, maybe some rust. The degradation part is interesting. It's not stopping with ships, and it's coming out slowly, but they will be doing it to armor and weapons. So if you're out on a planet not unlike Tatooine, we'll say, and your ship is getting windblown and sandblasted, it'll get dirty, and you jump out in your sparkling white stormtrooper-looking armor, and you hop out onto the planet and you walk around and you come back to your ship. It's going to be dirty, tattered, beat up. Now, you can take your ship, and I'm assuming down the road your weapons as well. I don't know how they're going to fix that when they do it, but they obviously will find a way. But you can take your ship to a space station or to a spaceport, and when you land to rearm, refuel, fix your ship through those means, your ship will be cleaned. So it's kind of like if you take your car to a dealership instead of just a normal mechanic, sometimes you'll get a car wash out of it instead of just your car back. So it's kind of an added bonus. But now you'll be able to kind of see where people fly. And I guess from a strategy aspect, if I know, let's say Wolf is a huge miner and he's making millions, and if I only could figure out where the hell he's mining at, and I come across his mole or his prospector, and I can see the visual degradation on his hull, and it appears to be sand and dirt, then I know it's not on New Babbage, more than likely. Or I should say Microtech. It'll just be an interesting way that you'll be able to tell kind of a ship's story. And I guess from a strategy aspect, where they've been mining or excavating or salvaging or any of that type of stuff. So it definitely has some added bonus features other than just looking different. We have the stagger. Did I put that one in? I did not. So staggering right now, a patch ago, we had, if you were standing up and you get shot with a shotgun at point blank range, nothing really happens. You get shot. If you get shot, let's say with a shotgun, or get hit with a grenade or something like that at close range, now it can put you on your ass. Now staggering is that in between. If you bounce off an asteroid in your ship, you know, whoa, you'll do one of these. If somebody's shooting at you and the lead's hitting target and you're bouncing around a little bit, not strong enough to knock you down, but strong enough to move your body physically with the impacts of those rounds, that's all the staggering mechanics. And it looks interesting. It does. It might become obnoxious, but there's a reason why they have the chairs in the ships, and you get seat belted in and whatnot. And I guess it makes sense, because when I got the Valkyrie, I can hold 20 people, and there's 20 rumble seats, and every time I fly around, there'll be 5 or 6 of us standing in the cargo bay, just chilling, and never needed to go sit down. What the hell's the point of that module? Well, it will be, an issue if you have a bunch of people standing around inside the Valkyrie cargo bay, and I'm getting shot, I bounce off an asteroid, whatever, and it rocks the ship, all those people will fall down or start staggering, which can cause getting out of the Valkyrie fast enough issues. It can cause time delay, and now you have to get up, stand up, reallocate your optics, and be able to get out of the transport to hit your target. All of that adds time, and time can be a killer. So it's interesting gameplay, and I can't say I'm upset because I'm glad to see that seats will be necessary. Otherwise, why have them? But that's the staggering and the falling that we have coming up. Here is a short video, very short and way over dramatic. But this is the new Cyclone MT. What does the MT stand for? I can only surmise missile turret, because that's what it is. And as you can see from here, this is a normal Cyclone TR that has a gun on the top, and then flanking that gun and the guy in the turret are missiles. And so, backing it up here to get a still, you can see here, same configuration, driver passenger in the seats, just like all of the Cyclones. Then you have in the TR, the turret version, you'll have the turret and the gun. Now you have a turret, a gun, and it flanks missiles on each side. Why bother? I definitely believe it's an upgrade to the TR, and it almost makes the TR useless. Why bother? But the difference between the MT and the AA, which is anti-aircraft, is that the Model MT, the Model MT, you can lock those missiles on the Cyclone onto land targets. So if you have guys walking around in a formation, you can throw, I believe these are size 1 or 2, missile right at the group, blow them up. You can shoot other Cyclones. You can shoot the gun emplacements that we looked at earlier in the video. You can now lock land targets. The AA cannot. The AA is only for anti-aircraft, and it will lock targets in the sky, period. You cannot lock land-based components at all. Now, they are going to be coding in and fixing the fact that you cannot dumbfire missiles yet. So maybe you can dumbfire an AA and come up on an angle and do some funky shit in order to be able to aim it. But realistically speaking, the AA is specifically for anti-aircraft, where the MT is for whatever. You can fire it in the air and you can fire it on the ground. Now you might say, why bother having an MT if it can shoot in the air and the ground, and I have a turret? What's the point? The AA is fireable from the driver's seat. So if I'm driving the Cyclone anti-aircraft buggy, I can shoot planes down. If I am in the Cyclone MT as the driver and just the driver, I have to stop, jump out, get inside the turret. You now have a static firing platform, which is dangerous. Jump into the turret and begin firing your missiles or your cannon. Obviously, making yourself a static target can be deadly. It would be obviously better to have 2 people manning the Cyclone MT at any given time, but that's the difference either way. As a single driver, the anti-aircraft version, I can shoot. As the MT version, to use it in a more realistic fashion, you would need 2. The anti-aircraft also has an EMP. I think it's a little too weak to really matter at this point, but I'm sure it'll have some valid gameplay down the road. So those are the differences. It's a cool little Cyclone. If you have a TR and want to upgrade, I think the upgrade's about $10. Maybe worth it to you, maybe not. I went ahead and did it. Right now it's in the Ursa or the Fortuna colors, which is the St. Patrick's Day celebration, the Fortuna celebration. So it's in green instead of just the tan. So it's got a kind of a cool look to it. Definitely something I added to my hangar. The other one we have coming up now, like I said, this is already buyable. You can buy this right now. If you go to RSI's website, you can buy the MT or you can upgrade to it. If you do a war bond purchase, which means all of it up front, it's lifetime insurance. So at the very least, it might be worth it as a LTI token. If you get it as an upgrade, it's an extra $10 over. Yeah, it's 65, I think, for the War Bond 75 if you pay with credit. So it's another $10 over the top. But you can upgrade with the MT or buy it outright. So either way you want to do it, to me, like I said, I think it's a worth it of an upgrade from a TR to the MT. You have missiles. It's a TR with missiles. Why not? Why wouldn't you? This is the biggest heavy hitter coming up now. Coming back to the MT one more time. The MT is supposed to be drivable right now. It's testable. It's usable. When 313 hits, this is drivable. The next one is not yet. It's coming with a 313X patch. This is the Nova tank. I refuse to say tank. I just do. The Nova tank is a giant. As you can see, you can walk in and set up shop and have people over for dinner. I mean, the thing is massive. And this is the first iteration for what I would consider massive ground combat. The Cyclones have weapons. Your hover bikes have weapons. Your ballista has anti-air. This thing, this is a tank. It's a tank. Who the hell does not want a tank? One of our guys is actually a tanker, so I'm assuming he's going to pick one up for himself. You can see the scale here. He'll probably pick one up too. It's a frickin' tank. Who the hell does not want a tank? So yes, I already have one. Wrong one for here. The other ship coming out that'll be in a 313X patch is the Hercules. 3 models of Hercules. We have the C2, which is the cargo ship. There's the M2, which is the military cargo ship, and the A2, which is just a planet destroyer and carpet bomber that'll be able to carry a Moab or a series of carpet bombs. The A2 will not be available in 313 at all. I believe they said 315 or 314 possibly, but it will not be out in the 313 patch. The A2 and the the M2 and the C2 will. It's just not going to be available right at release. These ships are massive, and these are currently the only ships that you can use to carry the tank. So it's fitting, I suppose, that the tank would come out at the same time as the Hercules, because otherwise you'd have to spawn the ship at a pad. I mean, there's no flying it around in anything whatsoever. So that I have one of the M2 versions for the tanks specifically. I think that's going to be a massively cool addition to gameplay as well as just ship ownership. And I will say to everybody that owns the Caterpillars now, this, for me at least, which is why I never bothered to get a Caterpillar, this is a good cargo ship. The C2 holds more cargo. The M2 has a middle of the line cargo, still a ton, but as far as the C2 is concerned, it's less because you have more turret and military options in the ship, and the A2 is much less because instead of, if any, to be honest with you, I didn't even look, because the cargo hold, if there is any, is mainly going to be taken up by, like I said, the Moab, mother of all bombs, or the massive amounts of carpet bombs that the A2's primary purpose is to just lay waste with a heavy carpeting barrage of bombs being dropped. But those are coming. They're ready. I wish they would come out with release. I have a feeling, and I'm sure you're all saying, how could that possibly be? But that Star Citizen is waiting until Fleet Week, which is at the end of May, which is their first or second biggest ship sale. I think it's their biggest ship sale of the year, where they sell the most amount of ships because they have them on display and they're showing stuff off. I have a feeling that these ships will all of the sudden be ready to go right before Fleet Week, and then the sales will just fly out of the wallet because people will actually see them and say, I wish I had that. And then now the credit cards start swiping and people are buying the ships right as they're coming out brand new. Call me a pessimist. I'm believing that's what's going to happen. Either way, I know 3.13 right now is 3 weeks late. I don't see them being late for Fleet Week. Well, they can't. Fleet Week is a static event, so they'll have to be on time for it. And I really do think that everything is probably ready to go. They're just waiting for Fleet Week and then release everything at that point in time. The last thing to go over real quick for 313. This is going to be interesting. This is mainly for the big ships. This is going to be ship to station docking. We talked about ship to ship, but right now that's only the Carrack and a Merlin. But now we're doing ship to station docking. There will be a minor iteration of it. Right now, you'll be able to see the docking areas that you might not be able to go to. But the idea behind it is that the 890 is too big. Let's say a Reclaimer is too big. The Hercules is going to be too big for those to touch down on a space station pad. But not to allow ships of that size to utilize space stations will dramatically cut down on supplying these ships. So obviously, ships that don't have them will have docking collars added to the ship at some point in time. But the premise behind it, obviously, is that if the ship is too realistically big to be able to dock, or land, I should say, then the ship will just pull up. A docking collar will extend. I'm assuming it'll be around the same way that the docking is done with a symbiote ship to the Constellation. You'll pull up and find the box where you're supposed to hover. You'll stop, hit the auto dock, and the arm will come out as you saw, hook up to your ship, and you'll be on your way. So that's 313. I don't want to say in a nutshell, it's probably been almost an hour, but that's 313. A lot of stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that I didn't even bring up because it's minor stuff or stuff that there was no video for, and a lot of back-end changes for gameplay. But for those that are the naysayers that nothing is happening, the game isn't being done, while I do agree the game is going at a snail's pace, there were reasons, for the last few years, and then obviously COVID shot up this past year as far as just the easiness of being able to work with people and whatnot. They are moving forward, and they're moving forward pretty well. So I'm anxiously awaiting the results. Thanks for watching, everybody out there. Hopefully you'll find the video helpful. Click, subscribe, do all the stuff that people do, and check us out. As soon as 313 launches, we'll probably do some live gameplay video with some of the guys, and then we'll have to talk about 314. Sorry this video is a little late, but there were a lot of changes coming with the patch. I wanted to make sure I got the most accurate. Instead of doing a video, change this, change that, they're doing this, they're not doing that. Waited to the last minute, but what's up, Endora? I just saw you pop on there. And hopefully they'll be a little bit more accurate with their patch releases moving forward, because the patches coming up are even cooler. If you bother looking at the tracker or not, you'll see what I'm talking about. Otherwise, you can just watch me, and I'll tell you all about it. All right, guys, thanks for coming, and we'll see you in the verse.